Hello YouTube. Today I'll speak about one of the most interesting subjects in the area of the paranormal research, the so-called Bigfoot research, as it had taken place in the Soviet Union and takes place in modern Russia to the extent possible. I'll be as detailed as I can, but there is much more information than I'll present here, and I'll be doing more videos as the time goes by. So let's begin. The Bigfoot research in the Soviet Union had begun back in the 1950s, but of course reports of the unusual creatures had started coming in way before then. Sightings of the Bigfoot-like humanoid creature had been reported for many years in rugged, isolated areas of Russia. As a consequence, numerous Soviet and Russian scientists and researchers of the paranormal tried to study the Bigfoot phenomenon. In the Soviet Union, Yeti, or Bigfoot, was known as Снежный человек, abominable snowman or snow person. Back in the 1950s, the Soviet Academy of Sciences had actually a special commission to study the snowman. I don't think any other country in the world went as far in the research of the unusual creature. This commission had conducted a large body of research to classify collected information about the hominids. The term hominid refers to members of the biological human family Hominidae, living humans, all human ancestors, and the many extinct members of the Australopithecus. Hominids form a superfamily distinct from the old world apes and monkeys, which includes the family of great apes, chimpanzee, gorilla, and the orangutan, our nearest living biological kin. The common primate ancestor to humans and living old world apes went extinct several million years ago. The Pamir, or root of the world as the Persians call it, is a large mountain system extending over the territory of Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and extending into the northeast Afghanistan and southwest Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of China. This is a region that forms a geological structural knot from which the great Tian Shan, Hindu Kush, Karakorum, and Kunlun mountain systems spread out. Now, the Pamir Mountains live in a cycle of long cloud winters and quite cool summers. The Pamir mark the southern boundary of Central Asia. It's snow-capped throughout the year. And the expedition to the Soviet Pamir Mountains in Central Asia took place but failed to find the snowman. So the government of the Soviet Union stopped taking the existence of the creature seriously. However, there were numerous reports of sightings of the mysterious creatures in the USSR. I mentioned Marina Popovich in my previous presentations. She is a well-known Soviet test pilot and almost a cosmonaut because she trained for the mission. She was also wife of Pavel Popovich, the famous Soviet cosmonaut who did so much for the study of UFOs in the USSR. In 1982, she went to the Pamir area. She took her daughter, and the expedition she was in was headed by Oleg Rumyantsev, Doctor of Sciences. They met local sheep herders, and they told them that they're hunting the so-called snowman. Are you going to shoot at him? They were asked. No, we just want to look at him. Well, he does come to us. He is 3 meters tall, very hairy. We give him milk, and the dogs and the cats are afraid of the creature. That's what they told Marina Popovich. One night, the night of the August 13th, she woke up very suddenly because somebody was touching her cheek. She was gripped with horror, and her daughter started crying. The sleeping bag that she was in started basically leaving the tent slowly. if I can say that. There was noise, gravel of the gravel, so Marina grabbed her daughter as much as she could and started screaming in full voice. Everybody was alarmed in the camp. The daughter told later that something soft woke her up. It touched her feet. The rest of the night they couldn't sleep. They checked the icy trail around the camp. In the morning they found a huge footprint, human-like footprint. In the morning, she and her daughter Oksana left the camp and went back to Moscow. Soon they forgot the horror of what they had experienced. But she never forgot it, and she was always interested in the phenomena. And at her age, she is well over 80 years old now. She still remembers it. But one of the leading Russian authorities on Bigfoot was Maya Bykova. She passed away in 1996, leaving behind a legacy of serious scientific inquiry into the phenomenon. Bykova graduated from the Moscow Agricultural Academy in 1955. For many years she had studied Bigfoot. She named it Relict Hominoid, and she authored 3 books about the elusive creature. Beginning in 1972, Bykova organized a dozen expeditions to search for the traces of animals unknown to science. None of these expeditions obtained the support of the official government agencies, but after long years of study, she came to some very interesting conclusions. Bigfoot's appearance, described by many eyewitnesses, betrays the creature's earthly origin. It has a traditional constitution, that is, it has 4 limbs with 5 fingers each, 1 head and 1 trunk. It looks like a man or a huge ape, and its body is covered in fur. Bigfoot is nocturnal and moves very fast. It possesses unexplained defense mechanisms that make it invisible to humans. No one has ever seen a Bigfoot dwelling, and nobody knows anything about the reasons for this beast's migrations. The most stunning property attributed to Bigfoot is his ability or her ability to disappear and appear suddenly, as if dissolving into thin air. This unusual property has led to various and sometimes fantastic hypotheses of the Bigfoot's origin. Some tend to look for its tracks in other dimensions, while others connect its appearance to UFO activities. Bykova believed that there was no basis for such hypothesis. However, she carefully pointed out that because we have no access to the object of our inquiry, we could not supply an adequate scientific explanation of the whole phenomenon. We can only try to piece together Bigfoot's characteristics using the testimonies of as many different witnesses as possible. Bigfoot's fur had been compared to that of a monkey. However, some Bigfootologists disagree, asserting that large apes live only in warm environments. Until recently, scientists believed that apes could only live in places where the air temperature never drops below 14 degrees Celsius and where there are no sharp temperature fluctuations. Yet it is common knowledge that Bigfoot had been encountered across the globe, from the red hot deserts to areas inside the Arctic Circle. The diversity of nature suggests a few possible explanations. There are several well-known animals that can live in conditions which are seemingly unsuitable for any kind of life. One example is the so-called snow monkey, found in sparsely populated regions of northern Japan. As a rule, snow monkey lives in the tropics. Unlike their close relatives, the snow monkeys have light, thick fur. They are larger and live in mountainous terrain, where snow covers the ground for 4 months out of the year. The macaques find their food grass, young sprouts, leaf buds, and tree bark under the snow. Bykova and her colleagues were very interested in the peculiarities of the snow monkey's fur, the structure of their skin, and their behavior. Scientific studies, such as the ones conducted on the polar bear fur, at Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts, may actually offer vital clues to the Bigfoot enigma. There are several interesting points of comparison. Despite its whiteness, the fur of the polar bear is capable of converting 90% of the sun's energy it catches into warmth. So Bigfoot inhabitants inside the Arctic Circle have fur of the same color. Polar bears convert into warmth almost all of the ultraviolet rays and parts of the visible ones, and reflect light evenly throughout the whole visible spectrum, which is why it appears white to people, white colored. Experiments show that when a portion of this fur is placed under the glass of a solar collector, the efficiency of the apparatus increases by 50% and more. Thus, peculiarities of the fur can enhance the survival of a flesh and blood creature. Despite such facts, however, some zoologists and Bigfootologists refuse to discuss the possibility of Bigfoot living inside the Arctic Circle. Maya Bykova coined a term for the phenomenon of Bigfoot's sudden disappearances. The creature camouflages itself in the biofield, aura in English, to become invisible. This phenomenon has been noted in Bigfoot encounters in the Himalayas. Although Bykova noted the creature knows no limits and can be encountered on all 5 continents. Tibetan red-batted monks say that the Yeti possesses control over its will, or to be more specific, it can stop the activity of its brain, especially to become invisible. Monks themselves can do it. Indeed, it is a necessary part of their gradual perfection. The red-hatted monks believe that Bigfoot Yeti is the only creature on Earth that has preserved the ability to dissolve and become completely invisible to those around it. The monks say that Europeans have often cited it, observed Bigfoot as a real object, and even followed it. Each time they were left disappointed. Bigfoot disappeared every time, right into thin air. Bykova was of the opinion that this was the case of psychological suggestion. It is directed out, not outward, but inward at itself. And this was proposed by Professor Porshnev in his 1974 book about early human history. Boris Fyodorovich Porshnev was a Soviet historian and sociologist. He passed away in 1972. The story of his book is very tragic and shows you the realities of the Soviet Union. Porshnev had many difficulties trying to get permission to publish the book in the USSR. Of course, he couldn't publish it outside of the country without official permission, nor did he want to. So he agreed to take out whole chapters, because the censorship did not want it. Chapters important for the expression of his main ideas. And at times the book was cancelled, its publication was cancelled, and it actually was published only after his death, now in 1974. And this edition was not complete at all. In the later years, in 2006-2007, in modern Russia, the book was published in its full version. Now, Porshnev said that excessive psychic, nervous, or physical strain can trigger spontaneous natural auto-training that leads to lethargic state. This doesn't produce complete physical disappearance, but invisibility vis-a-vis the observer. Professor Porshnev concluded that humans have lost this and similar abilities as a result of the increasing complexity of the human psyche. Popular beliefs offer proof of this. In the course of evolution, the humans have gained much, including speech, but have lost something at a certain stage of our evolution too. Bigfoot, who has not attained the capacity for speech, may be a creature parallel to Homo sapiens, our genetic companion, a member of the same order, but not above or below us. By no means is it our ancestor. The mystery surrounding Bigfoot has led many wild guesses expressed by people who have never seriously worked to investigate the phenomenon. The voices of psychics and parapsychologists are the loudest in this out-of-key chorus. Bykova was quite convinced that analogs of this earthly creature's properties should be looked for on Earth and not in wild fantasies. This, Bykova said, is the only sensible approach to the subject. Bigfoot's ability to adapt to vastly different environments and its mysterious defense mechanisms make this creature extremely elusive. I'll continue in my next presentation about actual meetings recorded in the Soviet Union and Russia and more theories. Thank you.